Elena Vasquez sat in the huge white room, trying not to show how angry she felt. The meeting hall of the Galactic Council was beautiful, with walls that seemed to glow and floors so clean they looked like mirrors. But Elena had been here too many times before, and she knew what was coming. Around her, the alien representatives talked in their strange languages. The Zephyrians looked like living crystals, their bodies catching the light as they moved. The Vilter wore flowing robes that hid their faces, making them look mysterious and important. The Kepler Collective did not have individual bodies at all. Instead, they were like a cloud of small flying machines that moved together and spoke with one voice. Elena was the only human in the room, and she felt it. She had been Earth's ambassador for 5 years now, and in all that time, not one human proposal had been accepted by the Council. "The request from Earth is denied," said Chairperson Zisthala, one of the Vilter leaders. Her voice was cold and final. "Humans may not expand into the Outer Rim territories." Elena stood up slowly. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "May I ask why?" The Zephyrian representative, Mordoon, made a sound like wind chimes. When translated, his words were harsh. "Humans are too aggressive. Your species disrupts the peace wherever you go. We have seen what happens when humans settle new worlds." Elena almost laughed, but she kept her face calm. "You mean we build successful colonies? We trade fairly with local populations? We share our technology?" "Exactly the problem," said the voice of the Kepler Collective. "Their flying machines buzz together like angry insects. Human colonies grow too fast. Human trade routes become too important. Human technology spreads too quickly. You destabilize our carefully maintained balance." The real reason was not spoken aloud, but Elena knew it well. Human colonies did grow fast, but not because humans were aggressive. They grew because humans were simply better at building things, better at solving problems, and better at making life comfortable for everyone around them. In 50 years since joining the galactic community, humans had gone from the newest members to controlling nearly half of all. Trade routes thought other species were getting worried. Elena looked at her tablet, checking her notes one more time. "What about our request for a research station near the neutron star in the Kepler 442 system?" Zixthala did not even look up from her own documents. "Also denied. The Zephyrians have claimed that area for spiritual reasons." Elena felt her calm mask slip just a little. She had spent weeks researching that neutron star. It was in empty space, far from any Zephyrian worlds or holy sites. But her classified intelligence sources had told her something interesting about Zephyrian interest in that particular neutron star. "Spiritual reasons," Elena repeated slowly. "I see." Mordine's crystal body flashed brighter. "Yes, our ancestors visited that star long ago. It holds great meaning for our people." Elena opened the file on her tablet and turned the screen toward the council. "Then, perhaps you can explain why your science ships have been secretly studying that neutron star for the past 6 months, running energy extraction tests." The room went very quiet. Mordine's crystals stopped flashing. Even the Kepler Collective's machines stopped buzzing. "I don't know what you're talking about," Mordine said finally. Elena smiled, and it was not a nice smile. "Of course you don't." She gathered her papers and stood to leave. Around her, the alien representatives whispered among themselves. They had been caught in a lie, but Elena knew nothing would come of it. The council would find some excuse, some new reason why humans could not have access to the neutron star. Just like they always did, thought as Elena walked toward the exit, Zixthala called out to her. "Ambassador Vasquez, perhaps we could discuss a compromise. A joint research station with Zephyrian oversight?" Elena stopped walking but did not turn around. A joint station meant the aliens would learn whatever the humans discovered, while giving nothing in return. It was the same offer they always made. "No, thank you," Elena said without looking back. "Earth has better things to do." She left the council chambers and walked through the corridors of the massive space station. Other species moved around her, some she recognized and others that were completely alien. The station was like a small city floating in space, home to thousands of beings from across the galaxy. Elena had once been excited to be here, representing humanity among the stars. She had believed that joining the Galactic Council would open up wonderful opportunities for her people. She had thought that humans would be welcomed as equals, but after 5 years, she understood the truth. The other species did not see humans as equals. They saw humans as useful servants who had gotten too successful too quickly. They wanted human technology, human trade routes, and human expertise. But they did not want humans to have any real power or influence. The worst part was how they did it. They never said no directly. They always had reasons that sounded good. Environmental concerns, cultural preservation, spiritual significance, safety regulations. But Elena had started to see the pattern. Every time humans tried to do something important, there was always some rule or tradition that got in the way. Every time humans succeeded at something, new regulations appeared to slow them down. Every time humans offered to help other species with their problems, the help was accepted, but the humans got no credit. Elena reached her private communication room and locked the door. She sat down at her desk and activated the quantum encryption system. The message she was about to send would travel to Earth faster than any alien technology could intercept it. She typed carefully, knowing that what she wrote next would change everything. "Prime Minister Chen Wei," she began. "I am sending this report after today's council session. Our request for outer rim expansion was denied, with no valid reason given. Our neutron star research proposal was also denied, despite clear evidence that the Zephyrians plan to exploit that resource themselves." Elena paused, thinking about her next words. "Sir, I have been your ambassador here for 5 years. In that time, I have watched this council treat humanity as a useful tool rather than an equal member. They take our innovations, use our trade routes, and benefit from our expertise, but they will never allow us to have real influence or freedom." She looked out the window at the stars beyond the station. "They will never see us as equals," she typed. "I believe it is time to consider other options. I recommend we initiate Protocol Exodus." Elena sent the message and sat back in her chair. Protocol Exodus was something they had hoped never to use. It was Earth's emergency plan for leaving the galactic community entirely. But as Elena looked out at the beautiful, peaceful space station around her, she knew that sometimes the only way to gain respect was to stop asking for it. The message would reach Earth in 2 days. After that, everything would change. Elena Vasquez had just lit the fuse that would shake the entire galaxy. 3 days had passed since Elena sent her message to Earth. She was in her quarters on the council station, drinking morning coffee and reading reports, when every screen in the room suddenly turned on by itself. Elena nearly dropped her cup. This was not possible. The communication systems on the station were controlled by the council's security protocols. No outside signal should be able to override them. But there on her screen was a familiar face. Prime Minister Chen Wei stood behind a podium, wearing his formal blue suit. Behind him stood Admiral Sarah Morrison, a tall woman with short gray hair and the uniform of the Solar Defense Fleet. Next to her was Dr. James Carter, Earth's Chief Science Officer, a thin man with kind eyes and hands that never stopped moving. Elena realized that every screen on the station was showing the same image. In the corridors, she could hear alien voices crying out in surprise and confusion. "Citizens of the galaxy," Chen Wei began. His voice was calm and polite, like he was announcing the weather. I am Prime Minister Chen Wei of Earth. I am speaking to you today to make an important announcement. Elena sat forward in her chair. This was it. This was Protocol Exodus. After careful consideration and many years of trying to work together, Earth and all human colonies have decided to withdraw from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The Prime Minister paused, allowing his words to sink in across the galaxy. We want to thank the Council and all member species for the learning experience. We have gained much knowledge about the galaxy and its peoples during our time as members. However, we have concluded that our goals and methods are not compatible with the Council's vision for the future. Elena could hear shouting in the corridors now. Alien voices, some angry, some panicked, all confused. All human personnel will be leaving Council facilities within the next 24 hours. All human trade agreements with Council members will end in 72 hours. All human-operated stations and services will be shut down in an orderly fashion over the next week. Admiral Morrison stepped forward. When she spoke, her voice was firm but not threatening. We want to make it clear that this decision is final and not open to negotiation. We wish all Council members peace and prosperity in the future. Dr. Carter moved to the microphone next. Any alien personnel currently working with human organizations are welcome to stay with us if they choose, or return to their home systems with our full assistance. Prime Minister Chen took control again. To be absolutely clear, this is not an act of aggression or revenge. This is simply our decision to pursue our own path among the stars. We hope that someday in the future, when circumstances are different, our peoples might work together again as true equals. The transmission ended, leaving Elena staring at a blank screen. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then her door chimed with an emergency signal. Elena opened it to find 3 Zephyrian security officers and a Veilter administrator she did not recognize. Ambassador Vasquez, said the administrator, her voice shaking slightly. You need to come with us immediately. Chairperson Zixthale wants to see you. Elena nodded and followed them through corridors filled with panicking aliens. Some were shouting into communication devices. Others were running toward emergency stations. The normal calm of the Council station had been completely shattered. The Council chambers were in chaos when Elena arrived. Representatives from dozens of species were all talking at once, their voices creating a noise like a storm. At the center of it all, Chairperson Zixthela stood at her podium, trying to restore order. Silence! Zixthela finally shouted. Silence! The room gradually became quiet, though Elena could still hear worried whispers. Zixthela pointed directly at Elena. Ambassador, what is the meaning of this? Surely your government has not really decided to leave the Council over such a small disagreement? Elena walked to the center of the room, feeling hundreds of alien eyes watching her. Chairperson Zixthela, my government's message was quite clear. We are withdrawing from the Council effective immediately. This is ridiculous, said Morden, his crystal body flashing angry red colors. You cannot simply leave. There are treaties, agreements, contracts, all of which Earth is prepared to honor during the transition period, Elena replied calmly. We will not leave anyone stranded or break any existing obligations, but no new agreements will be made. A representative Elena did not recognize stood up. He looked like a tall, thin tree with silver bark. You cannot do this. Human shipping companies control 40% of our trade routes. Human maintenance crews keep our stations running. Human technology is integrated into our infrastructure. Elena smiled politely. Those are indeed challenges you will need to solve. I'm sure your people are very capable. Another alien, this one looking like a giant insect, buzzed loudly. This is clearly a negotiation tactic. What do the humans really want? Better trade terms? More territory? Voting rights proportional to economic contribution? We want to be left alone to pursue our own destiny, Elena said. Nothing more, nothing less. Chairperson Zixtela slammed her hand on her podium. This is a childish tantrum. One denied request and you storm off like angry children? Elena's polite smile became a bit colder. Chairperson, in 5 years as a council member, not one single human proposal has been accepted. Not one. Every request for expansion has been denied. Every offer of assistance has been accepted but unrewarded. Every innovation we have shared has been taken for granted. She looked around the room at all the alien faces. You have treated humanity as a useful tool, not as an equal partner. We have decided we no longer wish to be your tool. Zixtela's voice became desperate. We can discuss reforms, changes to voting procedures, better representation for human interests. Too late, Elena said simply. She turned and began walking toward the exit, but Zixtela called after her. You are making a terrible mistake. Earth needs the Council. You cannot survive alone. Elena stopped at the door and looked back. We survived quite well before we met you. I think we'll manage. As she left the chambers, Elena could hear the council representatives erupting into arguments again. Some were demanding immediate military action against Earth. Others were worried about the economic consequences. A few were asking practical questions about how to replace all the human-run services they had come to depend on. Elena made her way back to her quarters to pack. As she walked, her personal communication device beeped with a message from Admiral Morrison. Elena, get to the human section of the station immediately. We're beginning evacuation procedures. Elena quickened her pace. In the human section, she found organized chaos. Human personnel were packing equipment and files with military precision. Everyone moved with purpose, but without panic. Dr. Carter approached her. Elena, good. We need you to oversee the data transfer. Make sure we don't leave anything the Council could use to trace our people or operations. As Elena helped with the evacuation, she noticed something strange. Alien ships were beginning to gather outside the station, but they were keeping their distance. She asked Admiral Morrison about it. The Admiral smiled grimly. Oh, they're trying to approach the Sol system. But they're finding it difficult. Difficult how? Let's just say we've made some improvements to our home system's defenses while we've been members of this council. Improvements they don't know about. Elena looked out at the gathering alien fleet and felt a chill of excitement. Earth had not been idle during their time in the council. Whatever humanity had been preparing, it was about to be revealed. The galaxy was about to learn what humans were really capable of. 2 weeks after Earth's announcement, Dr. Kamala was having the worst day of her long life. The Zephyrian scientist stood in her laboratory, staring at readings that made no sense. The fusion reactor on her homeworld had stopped working 3 hours ago. Not broken, not damaged, just stopped. The reactor that had powered the capital city for 20 years simply would not start, no matter what her team tried. Doctor, called her assistant. We're receiving reports from other colonies. The same thing is happening everywhere. Kamala felt her crystal body grow cold. How many reactors? All of them, Doctor. Every fusion reactor based on human designs has shut down across our territory. Kamala sat down heavily. Human-designed fusion reactors powered 60% of Zephyrian worlds. If they were all failing, her communication device buzzed with an emergency message from the Council station. The same thing was happening everywhere in the galaxy. Human-designed technology was failing on hundreds of worlds belonging to dozens of species, but it was not random failure. Kamala had spent years studying human technology, and she knew something the others did not. The human designs were not actually failing. They were reverting. She pulled up the technical documents that humans had shared. when they first gave reactor technology to the Zephyrians. At the time, Kamala had thought the designs were simple, almost primitive, compared to what humans must be capable of. Now she realized her mistake. The documents showed basic fusion reactions that any advanced species could understand and build. But when Kamala compared them to the reactors that had actually been installed, she found hundreds of small differences. Tiny improvements that humans had made during installation and maintenance. Improvements that Zephyrian engineers had never fully understood. They dumbed it down, she whispered to herself. They gave us the simple version and then secretly upgraded it. Kamala began running diagnostic tests on every piece of human technology in her laboratory. What she found terrified her. Every single device contained hidden systems that Zephyrians had never detected. Not malicious viruses or weapons, just incredibly advanced improvements that worked so smoothly that other species had never noticed them. The humans have been secretly maintaining an entire galaxy's worth of technology, making it work better than its designers ever intended. And now they were taking their improvements with them. On the other side of the galaxy, Admiral Thane of the Veilter Navy was discovering the same truth in a much more dangerous way. His flagship, the Eternal Glory, was drifting helplessly in space after its navigation system had guided them directly into an asteroid field. How did this happen? Thane demanded from his engineering crew. Chief Engineer Voss looked up from his control panels, confusion clear on his face. Sir, the navigation system says we're exactly where we should be. But our sensors show we're in an asteroid field that should not exist. Thane studied the star charts. According to their maps, this area of space was completely empty. But outside the ship's windows, he could see thousands of asteroids drifting past. Sir, called his communications officer, we're receiving distress signals from 17 other ships in this sector. They're all reporting navigation failures. Thane felt ice form in his stomach. Get me a direct connection to Fleet Command. When the connection came through, Admiral Dexara's voice was strained. Thane, where are you? Our tracking shows your ship in empty space, but we've lost contact. We're in the Corval asteroid field, Admiral. That's impossible. There is no asteroid field in your sector. Thane looked out his window again at the clearly visible asteroids. Admiral, I need to ask you something. How long has it been since our star charts were updated? A pause. The last major update was 6 months ago? From human cartographers. Thane closed his eyes. The humans had been providing navigation updates to most galactic species for decades. They claimed it was a public service, sharing their advanced scanning technology to keep space lanes safe. Now Thane understood the truth. Human star charts were not just more accurate than everyone else's. They were the only accurate charts. Without regular updates from human cartographers, ships were flying blind through a galaxy that was far more dangerous than anyone realized. Admiral, Thane said slowly, I think we have a much bigger problem than we thought. Meanwhile, on the council station, Chairperson Zixthel was receiving reports that made her question everything she thought she knew about galactic civilization. The economic crisis had hit first. Without human shipping companies, trade routes that had operated for decades were now empty. The humans had not just controlled 40% of shipping, they had controlled the most important 40%. The routes that connected different regions of the galaxy, the paths that made interstellar trade possible at all. Other species were trying to fill the gap, but they were running into problems. Ships were getting lost. Cargo was being delayed by weeks or months. Some vessels had simply vanished entirely, presumably destroyed by hazards that human pilots had somehow avoided. Then came the technical failures. Fusion reactors, navigation systems, communication networks, atmospheric processors, all of them had been enhanced by human engineers over the years. Now those enhancements were disappearing, and no one else knew how to replace them. Dr. Kamala's report made everything worse. She had discovered that human technology was not just advanced, it was impossibly advanced. The simple devices humans had shared were actually incredibly complex machines disguised as simple ones. Chairperson Dr. Kamala explained over the communication link. I have been studying human fusion reactor designs for 15 years. I thought I understood them completely. But I was wrong. Kamala sent over her analysis. Look at this. What we thought was a simple fusion containment field is actually a complex multi-dimensional energy matrix that operates on principles we do not even have names for. The humans somehow made it look like our own technology so we would not be frightened by it. Zixthala stared at the data. You're saying they have been secretly upgrading our civilization? Not just upgrading, maintaining. Every piece of technology humans have touched in the last 50 years has been improved in ways we never noticed. And now that they're gone? An alarm began blaring through the council station. Zixthala's assistant ran into the room, his face pale with panic. Chairperson, we have an emergency. The station's main power grid is failing. Zixthala felt her blood turn cold. How is that possible? This station was built by Kepler Collective engineers. It's the most advanced facility in the galaxy. Her assistant held up a datapad. Yes, but it was renovated by human contractors 12 years ago to improve efficiency. Those improvements are now reversing. Zixthala ran to the control center, where dozens of technicians were working frantically at control panels. The station's chief engineer, a member of the Kepler Collective, approached her with his flying machines buzzing in distress patterns. Chairperson, we are experiencing catastrophic system failures. Life support is down to 60%. Artificial gravity is fluctuating. The main reactor is operating at 30% capacity. Can you fix it? The machines buzzed together for a moment before responding. We are trying, but we do not understand what is happening. The systems are reverting to their original specifications, but those specifications should not be able to support a station of this size. Zixthala realized the horrible truth. The council station, the symbol of galactic civilization and cooperation, had only been possible because of secret human improvements. Without those improvements, the station was too big, too complex, and too advanced for the aliens who had built it. As she watched the lights dim around her and felt the artificial gravity fluctuate beneath her feet, Zixthala understood that humanity's withdrawal was not just an economic or political crisis. It was the collapse of galactic civilization itself. The humans had not just been members of the galactic community. They had been secretly holding it together. And now that they were gone, everything was falling apart. On her personal communication device, a message was waiting from Admiral Morrison of the human fleet. It was short and polite, but Zixthala found it more terrifying than any threat. Chairperson Zixthala, we have noticed some systems failures in Council territory. If you need technical assistance, please let us know. We are always happy to help friends in need. We will be waiting in the Sol system when you are ready to discuss new terms of cooperation. Admiral Sarah Morrison. Zixthala realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had not just shifted. It had been completely reversed, and the humans had been waiting for this moment all along. 6 weeks after humanity's withdrawal, Chairperson Zixthala stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Veltar battlecruiser Dominion. Around her stretched the largest military fleet in galactic history, over 10,000 ships from 47 different species. The fleet was impressive, but Zixthala could see the cracks beneath the surface. Many ships showed signs of system failures. Others flew in loose formations because their navigation systems were unreliable. Some had been forced to reduce their crew because life support systems were operating at reduced capacity. Chairperson, called Admiral Dexara from her position at the tactical display. All fleet commanders report ready for the assault. Zixthala nodded grimly. This was not what she had wanted. For 6 weeks, she had tried everything else. Diplomatic messages to Earth had gone unanswered. Attempts to send negotiators to the Sol system had failed when ships could not get past some kind of energy barrier surrounding the entire solar system. Meanwhile, galactic civilization was crumbling. 3 major species had experienced complete infrastructure collapse. The Kepler Collective's home system had lost all power and was now dependent on emergency life support. The proud Veiltar Empire, which had ruled for 1,000 years, watched helplessly as their capital ships lost power and drifted in space. The economic damage was beyond calculation. Without human shipping, trade between different regions of the galaxy had nearly stopped. Without human technology maintenance, essential systems across hundreds of worlds were failing daily. Some colonies had been evacuated entirely when their atmospheric processors shut down. This is their fault, Zixthala told herself. The humans brought this crisis upon us by leaving. But deep down, she knew the truth. Humanity had not caused the crisis by leaving. They had prevented it by staying. For 50 years, they had been quietly keeping galactic civilization functional, and no one had noticed until they were gone. Fleet is in position, Admiral Dexara reported. Shall we begin the assault? Zixthala looked at the tactical display showing the Sol system. On the screen, it looked normal, one yellow star with several planets orbiting it. But her ship's sensors could not penetrate past the outer edge of the system. There was some kind of barrier there, invisible but impenetrable. Begin long-range bombardment, she ordered. Target the barrier with all heavy weapons. The fleet opened fire. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and exotic particle weapons struck the invisible barrier around Sol system. For a moment, space lit up like a small sun as the combined firepower of 47 species hammered against humanity's defenses. When the light faded, the barrier was still there, completely undamaged. Impossible, whispered Admiral Dexara. That bombardment should have destroyed a small moon. Before Zixthala could respond, her communication officer called out. Chairperson, we're receiving a transmission from inside the Sol system. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. She looked calm and professional, as if 10,000 enemy ships were not currently attacking her home. Chairperson Zixthala, Admiral Morrison said politely, I notice you're having some trouble with our system's defenses. Would you like me to explain how they work? Zixthala felt rage boiling inside her. Admiral Morrison, you will lower your defenses immediately and allow Council forces to enter. Humanity's withdrawal from galactic civilization ends now. Admiral Morrison smiled sadly. I'm afraid that's not possible, Chairperson. Earth's decision is final, but I appreciate you coming all this way to visit. This fleet represents the combined military might of the galaxy, Zixthala snarled. You cannot stand against us. You're right, Admiral Morrison agreed. We cannot stand against you, which is why we're not going to try. Before Zixthala could ask what that meant, alarms began sounding throughout her ship. Her tactical officer called out in panic. Chairperson, ships throughout the galaxy are moving. The main display switched to show a galactic map. Thousands of red dots representing human ships were moving from their positions across the galaxy. Not toward the Sol system, but to seemingly random coordinates throughout space. What are they doing? Zixthala demanded. Her answer came from Dr. James Carter, whose face appeared on another communication channel. The human scientist looked tired but determined. You asked us to leave, Dr. Carter said calmly. We're leaving, but first, we're taking our contributions with us. As Zixthala watched, human ships throughout the galaxy began activating devices that her sensors could not identify. Whatever. The devices they were affecting every piece of human-influenced technology across dozens of star systems. On her own ship, warning lights began flashing. Chairperson called her chief engineer. We're experiencing system failures across multiple decks. Zixtela felt panic rising in her throat. What kind of failures? It's hard to explain. Our weapons systems are losing power. Our shields are becoming less effective. Our engines are operating at reduced efficiency. It's as if the ship is becoming less advanced. Around the fleet, the same thing was happening. Ships that had been enhanced with human technology over the years were reverting to their original capabilities. Life support systems became simpler. Weapons lost their improved targeting systems. Shields weakened to their baseline specifications. Dr. Carter's voice continued across the communication channel. For 50 years, humanity has been quietly improving the technology of every species we've encountered. We made your ships faster, your weapons more accurate, your shields stronger, your life support more efficient. We did it so smoothly that you never noticed. The tactical display showed human ships across the galaxy, each one surrounded by a ton of field of energy that seemed to be affecting everything nearby. Every fusion reactor we serviced, every navigation system we updated, every communication array we repaired, we made it better. We thought you would appreciate having your technology work at peak efficiency. Zixtela's ship shuddered as another system reverted to its original specifications. Around her, officers reported failure after failure as decades of human improvements vanished. But apparently, you never wanted our improvements, Dr. Carter continued. You just wanted us to provide them without being recognized for them. So now we're taking them back. On the Galactic map, entire star systems were going dark as advanced technology reverted to more primitive versions. The process was not destructive. No one was dying. No planets were losing life support. But the galaxy's technological level was dropping by decades in a matter of hours. Admiral Morrison appeared on the screen again. Chairperson Zixtela, your fleet is experiencing some technical difficulties. Would you like us to help? Zixtela looked around her bridge. Half the control panels were dark. The artificial gravity was fluctuating. Her mighty flagship, pride of the Veiltar Navy, was now barely functional. This is impossible, she whispered. How did you hide improvements to our technology without us knowing? Admiral Morrison's expression became serious. Chairperson, you never asked the right questions. You assumed we were primitive newcomers who got lucky. You never wondered why human colonies were so successful, or why human trade routes were so efficient, or why human engineers could solve problems that stumped your best scientists. The soul system barrier shimmered, and for a moment, Zixtela could see past it. What she saw made her freeze with terror. The Sol system was not just one star with planets around it. It was a massive artificial structure containing hundreds of Earth-like worlds. Space stations the size of moons. Ships that defied every law of physics she knew. The entire system was not a solar system at all, but a vast construction project that had been hidden behind a barrier. You asked us to leave, Admiral Morrison said softly, but you never asked where we came from. As Zixtela watched, her fleet's weapons system shut down entirely. Their engines could barely maintain position. Ships that had been symbols of galactic military power were now barely capable of staying in formation. The humans had not just been maintaining galactic technology. They had been allowing it to function at all. And now they were taking their gifts back. Zixtela opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. Her voice was shaking as she gave the order that would haunt her for the rest of her life. All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance and await further orders. As her crippled fleet limped away from the Sol system, Zixtela realized that the galaxy had not just lost its newest members, it had lost its secret guardians. and they were not coming back. The alien fleet drifted in space, broken and humbled. Chairperson Dixthella sat in her darkened command center, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. Around her, officers worked frantically to keep basic life support functioning on ships that had once been the pride of Galactic civilization. Then Admiral Morrison's voice filled the communication channels, reaching every ship in the fleet simultaneously. "You wondered why we called ourselves young," the Admiral said calmly. "You assumed we were primitive newcomers who got lucky with a few discoveries. You never asked the right question." Zixthela activated her communication system. "What question?" "Why did we arrive in your galaxy exactly when your civilizations were beginning to stagnate?" On the main display, the barrier around the Sol system began to change. Instead of a simple energy field, complex patterns became visible. Mathematical equations that hurt to look at. Geometric shapes that seemed to exist in more dimensions than space should allow. 47 galaxies, Admiral Morrison continued. That's how many we've visited. How many we've helped. This would be the 48th. The barrier dropped entirely, and Zixthela saw the truth about humanity's solar system. It was not a solar system at all. It was a mobile construction the size of a star system, containing hundreds of worlds arranged in perfect geometric patterns. Space stations that looked like cities. Ships that moved without any visible propulsion. And at the center, not a star, but something that generated light and energy using principles that no other species could understand. "We are not from this galaxy," Admiral Morrison said simply. "We are travelers. We came here because your civilizations needed help, just like 46 others before you." Dr. Carter's image appeared alongside Admiral Morrison's. The scientist looked sad but determined as he began to explain. 300 years ago, our instruments detected signals from this galaxy. The signals told us that intelligent life here was approaching a critical point. Your species had developed space travel and formed a galactic government, but you had also stopped growing. Images appeared on every ship's screens, showing star charts spanning thousands of years. The expansion of galactic civilization, rapid at first, then slowing, then stopping almost entirely. Your species had become comfortable, Dr. Carter continued. Safe, stable, but also stagnant. No new technologies were being developed. No great challenges were being undertaken. Your galaxy was slowly dying from lack of ambition. Zixthela stared at the data. It was true. In the 1,000 years before humanity's arrival, galactic civilization had changed very little. New worlds were colonized using the same old techniques. The same trade routes were used for centuries. The same problems were solved with the same solutions over and over. "So we came," Admiral Morrison said. "We always come. Not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as gardeners. We help civilizations grow past their limits." The images changed to show human history in the galaxy. But now Zixthela could see it from a different perspective. Humans had not just joined galactic society. They had carefully guided its development. Every trade route they established had connected previously isolated regions. Every technology they shared had solved problems that alien species had considered unsolvable. Every innovation they introduced had pushed the galaxy toward new growth. "We made ourselves appear primitive so you would not be frightened," Dr. Carter explained. "We pretended to be newcomers so you would teach us your ways. We acted like junior partners so you would not feel threatened by our help." Admiral Morrison's expression became serious. "But we also tested you. Every proposal we made was designed to see if your species were ready to grow beyond your current limitations. Every request was an opportunity for you to show wisdom and cooperation." Zixthela felt sick as she remembered all the human proposals that had been rejected. Expansion into new regions, denied because it might disturb the status quo. Research projects, denied because they might give humans too much influence. Offers of technological cooperation, accepted only when aliens maintain control. You failed every test, Admiral Morrison said sadly. Not because you were evil, but because you were afraid of change. Afraid of losing your carefully maintained balance. You wanted the benefits of growth without the challenges of growth. The display changed to show human ships throughout the galaxy, still in the process of reverting alien technology to its original specifications. But Zixthala could see now that this was not revenge. It was preparation. We cannot force species to grow, Dr. Carter said. We can only offer opportunities and hope that civilizations choose wisdom over fear. When they do not, we must leave and try again later. Admiral Morrison leaned forward, looking directly at Zixthala through the communication link. But we do not abandon the galaxies we visit. We always leave them better than we found them. And we always leave a way back. What do you mean? Zixthala whispered. Your technology is reverting to its original specifications. But those specifications are still far beyond what they were before we arrived. Your fusion reactors may be simpler now, but they are still more efficient than anything your species had 300 years ago. Your navigation systems may have lost their advanced features, but they are still more accurate than your ancestors could have imagined. The truth hit Zixthala like a physical blow. Even in their withdrawal, the humans were leaving gifts behind. Even in their disappointment, they were ensuring that galactic civilization would survive and eventually prosper. Why? She asked. Why help us if we rejected your guidance? Admiral Morrison smiled, and for the first time it was a truly warm expression. Because every species deserves a chance to grow. Because every civilization contains the potential for greatness, even if they are not ready to embrace it yet. And because we were once in the same position as you. Images appeared showing humanity's own history. Not their history in this galaxy, but their true history. Their own struggles with stagnation. Their own fear of change. Their own moment when visitors from another galaxy had come to help them grow. We were the 47th galaxy to be helped, Dr. Carter said quietly. We failed our tests too, at first. We were suspicious of our visitors, afraid of losing our independence, worried about being controlled by more advanced beings. But eventually, we learned. We grew. We became capable of helping others. And now we carry on the work that was once done for us. Zixthala looked around her darkened bridge. At her officers, struggling with systems they did not fully understand. At the fleet of broken ships drifting in space around her. What happens now? She asked. Now you have a choice, Admiral Morrison said. You can try to rebuild your civilization the way it was before we came. You can return to your carefully controlled stagnation and blame us for the crisis you are facing. The Admiral paused, letting her words sink in. Or you can accept that this crisis is an opportunity. You can learn to maintain your own technology. You can take responsibility for your own growth. You can choose to become the species you have the potential to be. On the display, the massive human construction began to move. The hundreds of worlds, the impossible ships, the entire mobile civilization started to accelerate away from the galaxy's center. We are leaving now, Dr. Carter said. But we will be watching. And if you choose to grow, if you choose to embrace change and challenge and cooperation, we will return. Not as your guardians, but as your equals. Admiral Morrison's image began to fade as the human fleet moved beyond communication range. But her final words echoed through every ship in the alien armada. The galaxy is yours now. Make it worthy of the people you could become. Zixthala sat in silence for a long time after the transmission ended. Around her, officers waited for orders. Behind her, the largest military force in galactic history waited for commands. Finally, She activated the fleet communication system. All ships stand down weapons and begin rescue operations. Any vessel in need of assistance is to be helped, regardless of species or political affiliation. She paused, thinking about everything she had learned, and sent a message to all council members. We need to talk. Not about war or politics or trade agreements. We need to talk about how to deserve the gifts we were given. As her fleet began to disperse, Zixtho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was traveling to their next assignment, their next galaxy in need of guidance. And somewhere else, another species was probably receiving visitors and making the same mistakes that her own people had made. But here, in this galaxy, there was still time to choose a different path. Time to grow up. Time to become worthy of the second chance they had been given. Zix. Thyla opened the communication channel to the council station and began composing the most important speech of her life. A speech that would either unite the galaxy in a new era of cooperation and growth, or divide it into chaos and conflict. The choice was theirs now. The humans had made sure of that.